This is a holy place. That's the most holy place. Yeah. This one's still holy though. They're both holy, but that one is the most holy. This one's pretty holy. It's more. By the way, this is more holy. Hey guys, welcome to JRB. I'm J and IRB so that you DHT. That's right. I'm Joel Van Vliet. I read Bible, so you don't have to. And we're here reading Exodus chapter 26. We are over halfway through Exodus, and things I think are going to take a bit of a dip as far as interest goes. We already have had a couple of boring chapters when Jethro/Reuel came and started a judicial system. That was a little bit dull. And last episode, I barely remember it, but it was just about building a menorah, the Ark of the Covenant, and some table, which was all of these things made out of gold. And that puts me in mind of a visit I had to Versailles in France and how everything was so rich and I don't want to say gaudy, but a little bit gaudy, and just showed a monarchy that cared so little for the people of their nation that they would spend all of their riches, all sorts of resources on heads, busts, statues, and other glorious riches. God is kind of reflecting that. God is reflecting this very human, I don't want to say greed, but elitism. You know, this is a God that's like, I want all my stuff made out of gold. I want it to be really, really fancy. I want you to use resources, money, all of this stuff to celebrate me, the all-powerful being that doesn't need anything, instead of using resources, energy, and time and this sort of thing for the betterment of humanity. I want me to be celebrated. You know, give me stuff. So here we're going to now read more stuff that God wants because he needs a lot of stuff. Yeah, he has his own home. He's got his own place in heaven. He lives by himself up in heaven with his other self and then the other self and then the angels and stuff. But he needs a bunch of stuff, you know? Like he needs a bunch of stuff on earth, which is kind of like, you know, his second home, you know, where he kind of visits sometimes, you know, just to see his kids. He's like a deadbeat dad in a sense. He just comes by as an absentee father to visit the kids, say hi for a bit, and he wants his own room. I want my own room. By the way, before we get into the chapter, if you want to be terribly bothered to subscribe and like the video and comment, this helps push the video into the algorithm. Also, share it with your friends. If you really enjoy this, share it on Facebook if you're still on Facebook. You know, the channel is growing, so I appreciate everyone who's subscribed, everyone who comments and likes the videos, anyone that engages with me. I try to respond to every comment. You guys leave quite entertaining and sometimes very educational comments in the comment section, and I absolutely love it. It's really fun. It's really funny. And anyone here that's watching that doesn't typically comment, just go and browse the comments because they can be very, very interesting. Sometimes I get into a debate with someone, and that's really, really fun, but a lot of the time we just have some fun jokes and other things like that. So check out the comments, leave one if you want, and let's get going with Exodus chapter 26. Make the tabernacle with 10 curtains of finely twisted linen and blue, purple, and scarlet yarn with cherubim worked into them by a skilled craftsman. All the curtains are to be the same size, 28 cubits long and 4 cubits wide. Join 5 of the curtains together and do the same with the other 5. Make loops of blue material along the edge of the end curtain in one set, and do the same with the end curtain in the other set. Make 50 loops on one curtain and 50 loops on the end curtain of the other set, with the loops opposite each other. Is this a riddle? This feels like a riddle. This is one of these, like a math question, but from Bible times. Okay, if there's 50 loops on the one set, and then there's 50 loops on the other set, on the end of each curtain on the other set, the loops opposite each other, how many 50 sets? Then make 50 gold clasps and use them to fasten the curtains together so that the tabernacle is a unit. Okay, I got to be honest with you. I did not understand a word of that. I was reading it so that you guys could get the verse, but I just simply did not retain. I did not comprehend. There seems to be curtains that are held together by loops or something like this. It seems like this whole section of Exodus is them explaining things that I'm reckoning are already part of the culture when this is being written. Like they're making rules for things that they already had in place. So they're just kind of more or less describing how to do something that's already there. That's a guess. I am not a Bible scholar, but I'm just guessing that they're just like, all right, let's just say that this is what God wanted. That also, I assume, goes for their laws. They already had the laws in place. This was how this culture was going. And then they thought they'd tell these myths about how the laws came to be and just write in the laws that they already had. Interesting, fun, cool, whatever. But certainly not a true story of how a God was like, I want curtains. I love curtains. Make curtains of goat hair for the tent over the tabernacle. Curtains of goat hair. I guess that makes sense. 11 altogether. All 11 curtains are to be the same size, 30 cubits long and 4 cubits wide. Join 5 of the curtains together into one set and the other 6 into another set. Fold the 6th curtain double at the front of the tent. I wonder if goat hair is like, going to help them just keep things quiet in there when people are killing goats or whatever they have to do in these tents. Make 50 loops along the edge of the end curtain in one set and also along the edge of the end curtain in the other set. Then make 50 bronze clasps and put them in the loops to fasten the tent together as a unit. This is how you make a tent. We're making a tent. You guys are in a desert. We can't really build walls. Also, you have to be mobile because 40 years, this is going to happen. As for the additional length of the tent curtains, the half curtain that is left over is to hang down at the rear of the tabernacle. The tent curtain will be a cubit longer on both sides. What is left will hang over the sides of the tabernacle so as to cover it. Make for the tent a covering of ram skins dyed red, and over that covering of hides of sea cows. Sea cows? I wonder what I know that there are sea cows. I would love to Google this right now, but I told you guys I do not do any scholarly research. I just read the Bible. So it seems like these curtains have to really cover everything. They have to really enclose this tent tabernacle thing. And so that nobody can peek in and see what's going on, which is nefarious to me. It's like, what are you guys planning on doing in there? Is this where they're doing the child sacrifice that we read about in Exodus chapter 22, where children get to hang out with their mom for the first 7 days, and on the 8th day, give them to God? Seems a little bit questionable, but we'll see. Hey, maybe it's going to be perfectly fine, but, knowing Bible, chances are it's not going to be. Make upright frames of acacia wood for the tabernacle. Each frame is to be 10 cubits long and a cubit and a half wide, with 2 projections set parallel to each other. Make all the frames of the tabernacle in this way. Make 20 frames for the south side of the tabernacle, and make 40 silver bases to go under them, 2 bases for each frame, 1 under each projection. For the other side, the north side of the tabernacle, make 20 frames and 40 silver bases, 2 under each frame. Make 6 frames for the far end, that is, the west end of the tabernacle, and make 2 frames for the corners of the far end. At these 2 corners, they must be double from the bottom all the way to the top and fitted into a single ring. Both shall be like that. So there will be 8 frames and 16 silver bases, 2 under each frame. What is this? The 12 days of Christmas? They're like, one single frame, 8 frames, and 2 16 silver bases, under 2 each frames, in the rings, 2 curtains, 40 silver bases, 1 tabernacle. We are nowhere near December here. I don't know why I'm singing 12 Days of Christmas. Also, an abomination. These are Hebrews. They are not going to celebrate. They're never going to be interested in Christmas. I'm sorry. Also make crossbars of acacia wood, 5 for the frames on the one side of the tabernacle, 5 for those on the other side, and 5 for the frames on the west side at the far end of the tabernacle. That sounds like the song, children, go where I send thee. How shall I send thee? Well, I'm going to make thee 5 for the frame, 5 for the one on one side, 5 for those on the other side, and 5 for the frames on the west side, 5 for the ends on the east side, and then to born, there's something about the tabernacle. So anyway, again, that's about Jesus. Sorry to my Hebrew brethren and sistren. The center crossbar is to extend from end to end at the middle of the frames. Overlay the frames with gold and make gold rings to hold the crossbars. Also, overlay the crossbars with gold. This is, again, a very rich layout by the sounds of it. A lot of expensive rings, gold rings, overlaying the crossbars with gold. It's all very fancy. It's all very gaudy. No wonder the Catholic Church put so much money into their gaudy temples or cathedrals when they actually could be giving it to starving people. Now, I know that a lot of those are old, but they are putting a lot of money into the Notre Dame, which is, again, useless, absolutely pointless, meaningless, and useless. What a dumb world we live in, eh? So stupid. Set up the tabernacle according to the plan shown you on the mountain. Make a curtain of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and finely twisted linen with cherubim worked into it by a skilled craftsman. We're just repeating the previous thing. Again, going back to the yeast, this is very, very important. Hang it with gold hooks on 4 posts of acacia wood overlaid with gold and standing on 4 silver bases. Hang the curtain from the clasps and place the ark of the testimony behind the curtain. The curtain will separate the holy place from the most holy place. That seems like a subtle difference, doesn't it? This is a holy place. That's the most holy place. Yeah, this one's still holy though. They're both holy, but that one is the most holy. This one's pretty holy. It's more by the way, this is more holy than a non-holy place. So we got not holy, that's outside. Then we got more holy, which is just, we'll call it holy, and then over here it's the most holy. How does that compare to somewhere like heaven? Well, that would be holier. That's the most holy. So this is probably the second most holy. Now this is the NIV. I'm pretty confident that this is called the Holy of Holies in other translations. I also think the Ark of the Testimony is also called the Ark of the Covenant. So I don't know. I kind of like the other words for it, but we're reading the NIV, so we have to put up with that. Put the atonement cover on the Ark of the Testimony in the most holy place. Covered up. Everything's got to be covered up. That seems like a really great metaphor for God, just constantly covering things and hiding things, because that's what God does. He keeps himself hidden. He keeps himself covered up so that we don't even, we can barely even tell he exists. Is there an Ark of the Testimony? Is that even anywhere? They're like, trust us. We have it. We're just covering it with the cover, the atonement cover. Okay, does God exist? He's under the atonement. He's in the Ark of the Testimony. It's like Russian nesting dolls. He's the smallest one. He's small in a petty way also, but he's also little tiny guy, and then there's other stuff hiding him, so it takes forever to get to him. You give up. You after a few dolls, you just give up and say, I don't think he's in there. Place the table outside the curtain on the north side of the tabernacle and put the lampstand opposite it on the south side. For the entrance to the tent, make a curtain of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn and finely twisted linen, the work of an embroiderer. Make gold hooks for this curtain and 5 posts of acacia wood overlaid with gold, and cast 5 bronze bases for them. I'm going to make the same complaint I make for stoning with this. This is pretty fancy, but you also have to admit that it's limited. All of the stuff that God has mankind do is limited, of course, by our natural abilities. But I don't know if they could come up with things that were a little bit more creative or a little bit more supernatural. Like when God was having lunch with Moses and the 70 random people, he stood on this green glowing piece of tile rock thing that was translucent. You know, it was very, mystical. Like, what is this jade tile that he's standing on or whatever? What would be really cool here is if we had something that what transcended human knowledge and understanding. Like, what if they were like, there's going to be a wall of pixels that are going to appear when the tabernacle is stationary. It's going to resemble that jade block, but it's going to have little tiny squares because the resolution isn't going to be that great. But you're not going to be able to see through it, so it's actually going to be very effective. And they would be like, what are you talking about? We don't understand that. But then us in 2024 would be like, what? That's crazy. God made a hologram tabernacle back in the Bible times, But that's not the way it works. It's like, make something that is not at all a stretch of the imagination or doesn't at all hint at any sort of supernatural inspiration. Just make something fancy, but that is very much of a time. You know what it is that always indicates that there's something higher is the contradiction. Anytime you're going to hear a Christian kind of speak to God's ways being higher and him being outside of space and time, the proof of that is in confusion. The proof of that is in not getting it. Like, I don't know what this is supposed to be, but that's God, Whereas when we get practical descriptions of things, and I'm not talking about the miracles, but even the miracles are like, he blasted his nose and split the Red Sea. I mean, that's also very human in a lot of ways in that description. Nothing that they do, including slavery or stoning, transcends their time in history. And that's just very telling to me that this God is a product of their imagination. Anyway, that's all we have time for today. Actually, we do have more time. I guess we could hang out. Do you guys want to just watch a movie or something? All right, whatever. We'll just come back next time for episode chapter 27. Guys, again, comment, please give me a subscription if you haven't, and we'll see you next time. Bye.